What's going on, internet? Um, it's me, it's the Mass Man, Mr. Mass Man on all platforms. And today I want to review SNL featuring Ryan Gosling. Now, for whatever reason, I didn't recognize his face when when I saw him, and I kept trying to figure out who that was, who was hosting, and I thought it was somebody named Brian because I didn't hear his name correctly, and yeah, it was just confusing for a little while until like one of the last sketches in the show. I think Saturday Night Live should really, for people who come into the show late and who aren't aware who the host is, when they do that freeze frame picture, they should have their name underneath so you know exactly who's hosting the show, so you can Google them or find out about the character. Um, I missed the cold opening. I always miss the cold opening because SNL starts at weird times. It doesn't ever start directly at 10:30 in my area anyway, in Louisiana. Um, and I was rushing home so I could see it. So I missed the cold opening, but I caught most of the monologue, and it was really dry. It was really very dry. It was just about him being Canadian. Wasn't very interesting. Mike Myers came out and they did a song about Ryan being Canadian. It was it was it was a waste of time. I think if they're gonna have, I think if SNL, and I haven't watched SNL like for 20 years or 30 years. I really just started watching SNL a few years ago. So if they're gonna have people who are not comedians or who are not comedic actors host SNL, then they need to give them something funny to do in the monologues. They need to give them something interesting to do in the monologues. I really like Matthew McConaughey, how he did his monologue, where he told the origin of the all right story. I think something like that, something personal, something that maybe nobody's ever heard of, whether it's true or not, would work a lot better for people who are non comedians. I think that's why they actually had to have a comedic actor come out like Mike Myers to kind of save him, because it was really weak with him on his own, even when they did that dumbass song. The first sketch in the show was the Settle app, and it was about women, settling for regular dudes. Um, I think the sketch would have been funnier if they had had men in the sketch as well, and it wasn't just women settling, so-called settling. I think it would have been funny if there had been some men in the sketch who settled. Maybe some men who settled for some fat women or whatever. I think it would have been funny if it would have been like a real thing. But that sketch was real. That sketch just put me in a bad mood and had me feeling like this was gonna be, a very weak show. So like after that sketch, I went to go get my food ready because I was eating while I was watching Saturday Night Live, and I got my food ready. Um, and I sat back down, and I walked in on the middle of the alien abduction sketch. Now, after watching this sketch, I have to say that Kate McKenna is like a breakout star. I really think that I really believe that they need to do something with her. That they, like, out of all the people who do SNL, like Keenan is a lifer. Keenan, he's gonna retire. Like once he leaves SNL, he's not gonna do anything else. He's not gonna have a television show. He's not gonna do movies. He's probably gonna be in his 50s or his 60s or whatever. He's going home to raise his kid. So he's not going to do anything after that. Jay Farrow, he may do a little bit. Pete Davidson, he may do a little bit. But as far as people who are able to take this shitty writing and make it funny, the most consistent person at doing that is Kate McKinnon. And she took this sketch where they were talking about, it was three people being abducted by aliens, and they were making fun, of people who got abducted by aliens. Bobby Moynihan and Andy Bryan was in the sketch. Ryan Gosling was in the sketch, and Cecily Strong was in the sketch with Kate McKinnon. And Kate McKinnon, she was talking about how the aliens would have her peeing in a bucket, and she was just going on this riff, and she had gotten so into the jokes and so into selling the character that everybody in the sketch started cracking. Everybody in the sketch started to break character. Everybody in the sketch started laughing. Now, Ryan Gosling, he don't count because he really sucks at live comedy sketches, because he was laughing and breaking in every sketch. So after I saw the whole show, I retroactively discounted him laughing, but he wasn't the only one laughing. He was laughing, Cecily Strong was laughing, Bobby Moynihan was laughing, Andy Bryan was laughing, Kate McKinnon was, everybody was breaking when she was telling this story. And it's not like the shit that she was saying was that funny. It's just her delivery and how well she sold the character made you invested in this whack ass sketch. I really think that Kate McKinnon, that woman is going places. Like she's about ready to get off of Saturday Night Live and like be a real comedy star, because out of everybody that does these whack ass sketches, she finds a way to actually be funny, and this was like a standout performance. The audience was loving it. Everybody in the sketch was breaking. I have not checked out what the comments on YouTube are regarding the sketch. So maybe they didn't get the impression that I got. Maybe they weren't as impressed as I was. Maybe they didn't see it the way that I saw it. But from watching it on TV, it just looked like she owned that shit and she made that shit work. And I got to give her a lot of props for that. That was phenomenal that she took that weak ass writing and did so much with it. The next sketch was the Santa is Real sketch. And it was all this sketch was okay, and I kind of liked it. It was like, okay, this is good. This is a good sketch. It made me feel like what I felt when I was watching it, or what it made me think of, is this is what would happen if Quentin Tarantino wrote a comedy sketch, because it was about a couple that believed that Santa Claus was real, and a child came out and asked when Santa Claus was going to be there, and Beck Bennett, he told the child that that Santa Claus was coming downstairs, and the couple believed him. And you had this opinion that, okay, they actually believe that Santa Claus is real, but he isn't. And they got violent, and they was having, like this sexual energy, and it was real good. I really liked it. It was like a B compared to the A sketch that I just got done watching. But what I didn't like about the sketch, and what made me downgrade it, is that they didn't go all the way. They didn't invest in it. At the end of the sketch, the real Santa Claus looked through the window and then walked away. Like, there was a guy in a Santa costume, and you was like, okay, these two people are crazy. But then the real Santa Claus was outside. So in this world, in the world that sketch took place in, Santa Claus is real. And Santa Claus does come to your house. So the whole "these people are insane" shit kind of broke down at the end. They kind of like, it felt like a cop out. It was like, oh, Santa is real. He just is running from these two people. So that made the sketch less cool. It wasn't as cool of a sketch. It wasn't as creative, because in their world there actually is a Santa Claus, and these people just want to meet Santa Claus, but Santa Claus is afraid of them. So everybody in the whole sketch knows that Santa Claus is real, and they're not actually crazy. That took me out of the sketch. That was like saying fuck you for, liking these jokes. Um the next sketch was the birthday sketch. This is another sketch that made me say to Ryan Gosling, he just shouldn't do this type of shit, because he kept laughing, and the shit that he was laughing at wasn't even funny. It was just about a 13-year-old girl that wanted to sleep with a grown man, which actually happens. And they tried to make her into like Chris Farley at the end of the sketch. She was bouncing off the wall and she crashed through a table. I think it would have been funnier if she actually went through the fucking wall instead of hitting the wall and then crashing through a table. Like I said, if you're gonna go for the joke, go for the joke. Don't step back. Go all the way. If she's gonna run full speed, the bitch look like she's 300 pounds. She might as well go through the fucking wall. I mean, damn, it's a sketch. Anyway, it wasn't much to that. It just, the birthday sketch wasn't that funny. It was just, it just pissed me off that Ryan couldn't hold his composure when he was in these skits. He couldn't hold himself together. He kept laughing even when he was in an unfunny sketch like the birthday sketch. The performer was a guy by the name of Leon Bridges. I had never heard of this guy before. I may have to look into him and see what kind of music he does. He was not a great vocalist. He didn't have a great singing voice, but he seemed like a decent musician, like somebody who's good at writing music, who's good at playing instruments, who maybe is a good composer. But as far as his singing voice, I wasn't very impressed with it. But I haven't checked out his music. I don't know how he sounds, on a record. A lot of people sound better on their records than they sound live. And that's what I'm seeing a lot. Like SNL, is exposing a lot of people to me, who are really not that great live. Like I just saw it with Adele. Now I see it with Leon Bridges and this girl Sia, who I had never heard of before, never seen before. She was actually very good live. She was actually as good live as she is on her record. So, because I went back and I looked at her music, and she was very good on her music and live. So a lot of these artists are not as good live and in person as they are on their records, and I think SNL is doing a lot to expose these people for that. The next one was Weekend Update. Um, Weekend Update is my favorite segment on SNL. It's my favorite segment, and like I said, I haven't watched the 30 years of SNL, so I would assume that cast members coming out as characters is a regular thing, that they have always done that. That's my assumption. But because these people, they don't have any name recognition, like most people who watch the show wouldn't know these people by name if they saw one of them, and because the characters they do are just simply unfunny, I think they just need to let the cast members come out as themselves and just try to be funny. Just just instead of now Leslie Jones always comes out as herself, but I don't think I've ever seen Shashir do a Weekend Update. Um I think they have the same, hold on. I think they have the same four people do a sketch. They have Vanessa Bayer, they have Bobby Moynihan, they have Pete Davidson, and Leslie Jones. Like those are the regulars. Those are the people who do it the most. And you got a guy who's on the show apparently. He's like at the very end of the credits. A guy by the name of John Reniski. I don't even see this guy in sketches. I don't know if he's actually a part of the show or not. I don't know. I don't know who this guy is, and I feel like I keep saying this shit every time that I do a video. But who is he, and why isn't he in any sketches? Put him in Weekend Update as himself. Let's rotate. Let's have every cast member come in and do something as themselves. They are not funny anyway. They're not funny anyway. So fuck the character. Just come out as yourself and try to be funny for a couple of minutes. Nobody cares about your whack ass, weak ass characters. You're not funny. The writing ain't good. Just be yourself. So maybe one day you can work somewhere other than SNL. But Bobby Moynihan, he does one of his better characters as the guy with the secondhand news, but even that is a shitty character. And Ryan Gosling comes in again, and he breaks again. He breaks again. The next sketch they did was George Clooney and Danny DeVito in the coffee sketch, and they made fun of the commercial where George Clooney and Danny DeVito get together, and he has to do all this shit to get coffee. I liked the sketch. I thought the sketch was funny. Thought the sketch was good. I thought the sketch was cool up until the end. Again, this was another sketch that was pretty funny, but in the end, they didn't commit all the way to the joke. At the very end of the sketch, he tries the coffee, he spits the coffee out, but after spitting the coffee out, he said it wasn't that bad. So apparently all of this stupid shit that he had to do to get this horrible coffee was worth it, because the coffee was actually pretty good. It's like, if you're gonna tell a joke, commit to the joke. Don't give yourself a way out of it. Commit to the joke. Next thing they did was the Wiz. They did a sketch about the Wiz and the white scarecrow. I didn't care about it much. I didn't actually see the Wiz live. I don't know why they just didn't remake the Wiz. I don't know why they like having so much shit live nowadays. But I didn't pay too much attention to it. After that, they did the Santa Claus with the horny elves. And while I was watching this sketch, all I could think of is, man, I wish they would bring back Something Claus. Because Something Claus was a funny sketch. I like Something Claus. And this weak ass elves that want to be beaten and tortured, it was just a waste of time. And I felt like in the sketch that the Santa Claus forgot his lines, because there was this long awkward pause, where they was waiting about a minute for anybody to speak. I don't know if the guy who playing Santa broke. I don't know if he forgot his lines. I don't know what happened, but there was like, for 30 or 40 seconds, nobody was talking. But yeah, all in all, I'll give SNL featuring Ryan Gosling a C. I'll say it was reasonably watchable, because and I would have given it a B because it had pretty decent sketches, but they didn't commit to the sketch. They gave themselves a way out of the sketch. They did cheap, they gave themselves cheap outs of the sketch, and I did not like that. Out of two of the better sketches, they gave themselves cheap outs, so I didn't like that. Ryan Gosling was constantly breaking during the sketches, so did not like that. But all in all, it was a cool show. And if you only check out one sketch, check out the alien abduction sketch. I don't know the exact name of it, but that's the sketch that I would encourage you to check out and see what you think about it, because I really liked it. That's all I have to say about Ryan Gosling hosting SNL. Depending on what platform you're watching this video on, leave a comment, subscribe, rate the video, like it, dislike it, be honest. You can email me questions or suggestions at mrmassmansbusiness@gmail.com. That's Massmans with an S. You can find me on Twitter at Mr. Massman on Twitter. You can find me on Facebook at the Mr. Massman. That's all I have to say about this subject, and I will see you in the next video.